In November 1968, Republican Richard M. Nixon was elected president. His campaign had called for law and order.
We've been putting out billions of dollars for programs for federal jobs and federal housing and federal welfare. And I'll tell you what we've reaped. We've reaped a harvest of riot and frustration and failure. And now they want to put billions more into the same programs, and I say no. My friends, I say when you're on a wrong road, you get off of it and you take a new road.
Many of us had experienced great expectations and hope during the Great Society and programs of the 60s and the civil rights and so forth. We saw Nixon's election as taking away those gains. We saw the system moving away from a commitment to people and hunger and housing and political empowerment.
The Nixon years saw a rise in government repression of black activists at the national and local levels.
For example, I was put in jail one night because my signal light didn't work. Another time I was put in jail because the registration of my car was not in my glove compartment but in the trunk, in my briefcase, and they wouldn't allow me to get my briefcase out the trunk. But what it prevented me from doing was having a rally that night. It prevented me from organizing.
Whoa, what can it be? What can it be? Whoa, whoa, be, what can it be? Yo, that's holding me. What can it be? That's holding me from getting free. Whoa, 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 do you know?
New visions were emerging. Black nationalists like poet Imamu Amiri Baraka called for a black unity based on common concerns and a shared African heritage.
We a big black, we all them big black bad me's need to hook up into a bad black we, a bad a black we, yeah, bad we, yeah, bad we, see, yeah, we a bad black devil jamming we, yeah.
March 10th, 1972. Black nationalists and elected officials, often at odds, put aside their differences to hold a national black political convention. It took place in Gary, Indiana, a city run by a black mayor.
I remember when we first saw the sign saying, welcome to Gary, and we got downtown Gary. I mean, we thought we were in a different country. I mean, to see a city in the United States, given the backdrop now of all this Nixon repression going on, all sense of disillusionment in some quarters of the nation, to drive into Gary, Indiana and see streamers, red, black, and green, welcome National Black Political Convention. I mean, it was a fulfillment of what a lot of our dreams were.
8,000 people arrived in Gary. Nearly half were delegates representing over 45 states. Their goal, to develop a national black agenda that would set priorities for black America. But not every black organization was represented.
One of our NAACP leaders came to the convention and he opposed to our being there. And he was saying that we were separating ourselves. But we didn't see it that way.
There was a sense of alienation from the Democratic Party. Democrats taking us for granted, Republicans writing us off, and the agenda items for jobs and peace and justice will no longer be an afterthought for some other party or some other person. There's a sense that we had to assert this new dynamic.
Expectations were high on Saturday as Mayor Richard Hatcher opened the convention.
It was probably one of the most glorious moments of my life when I walked out and saw all of these black people of every color, every hue, every shade, the colorful dashikis and other African garb that some of them wore, mixing with three-piece suits and so forth. It was just an incredible sight to behold.
I believe that the 70s will be the decade of an independent black political thrust. Its destiny will depend upon us here at Gary this afternoon. How shall we respond Will we walk in unity or disperse in 1,000 different directions? Will we stand for principle or settle for a mess of pottage? Will we maintain our integrity or will we succumb to the man's temptation? Will we act like free black men or like timid, shivering chattels? Will we do what must be done? These are the questions confronting this convention, and we, you and I, are the only ones that can answer them, and history will be the judge. Thank you.
We are pregnant. We are ready for change. And whether a doctor is there or not, the water has broke, the blood has spilled, a new black baby is going to be born. We know who our parents are. Their baby has now been born. We are grown. We ain't taking it no more. No more yes sir boss. No more bowing and scraping. We are 25 million strong. Cut us in or cut it out. It is a new ball game.
The crowd began calling for nation time.
What time is it? When we come together, what time is it? When we respect each other, what time is it? When we get our self-confidence, what time is it? When we form our own political party, what time is it?
I had drawn much of the strength of nation time from a poem written by Leroy Jones, Amir Baraka at that time. The sense of people saying, what's happening? So well, nothing's happening, man. So what's really happening? It's nation time. It's time to come together. It's time to organize politically. It's time for partnership.
It was an enormously exciting experiment and an idea. Could we come together, this diverse group, and in the absence of the glue that held it together previously, meaning Dr. King, meaning Malcolm X, in the absence of those leaders, and particularly Dr. King, what would emerge out of this? Could there be a consensus?
The convention's theme was unity without uniformity, but agreement on a single black agenda would be difficult.
Chair recognizes a gentleman from Ohio, Mr. McGlynn.
Mr. Speaker, I move that nominations be closed.
Congressman Charles Diggs attempted to close nominations for convener, but many delegates had been shut out of other political conventions. They were determined to be heard at Gary.
All those in favor of closing the nomination signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
And unfortunately, Diggs misread the crowd, because when he said the chair rules that the nominations are closed, hey, pandemonium broke out. We wanted an open convention, not a repressed convention. And so Diggs, you know, got himself in some hot water. And it took Amiri Baraka, Imamu Baraka, to come with his version of African consensus. I remember Baraka's statement. He said, now, sisters and brothers, we must use some scientific process to bring this gathering together so that we can achieve our objectives. But it was the way that Baraka said it. He didn't say it arrogantly. He said it caringly.
I wasn't an elected official. I wasn't a mayor or wasn't a congressman, but I was a black nationalist. I was an activist. And I thought a lot of those people had come to Gary because of our organizing, our, pleading with people to come and, be part of a whole black political development. And I thought it was important that the thing not fly apart.
Can we do that? California, will you accept that? Can we move by general acclamation to accept that and add that to our resolution? All right.
With Baraka presiding, intense debate began on the agenda.
It was a wonderful agenda. It addressed the issue of political parity. But we also talked about economic parity and the need to establish economic institutions. Many of the discussions that are ongoing today were occurring at that meeting. Unemployment, the disproportionate level of unemployment among blacks, the disproportionate level of poverty among blacks, and what to do about it, what kinds of new institutions could be created to address those problems.
But we have a very brief and a very important resolution that we would make, and it has to do with the suffering of our young children as it relates to the educational policies that are in existence in the South.
Delegates proposed remedies for years of inequity in education, housing, and job opportunities. And they went further, addressing issues on behalf of all Americans: the need for national health insurance, for daycare and elder care, and for environmental safeguards.
And then say all other political prisoners.
The push to establish national priorities collided with local interests.
Now, some of you all need to cool yourself out a little bit. New York,
Michigan. I mean, after those meetings, people wouldn't go to sleep. They would caucus. And each state would caucus, you know, and then there would be caucuses inside the caucuses, because then you'd have the elected officials caucusing inside the state, and then you'd have the black nationalists caucusing inside there, and then a lot of times if there was Marxists or somebody else, they'd be caucusing.
And this document tells you why the man owes you reparations. Yeah, honey, you want reparations? Take it. This is reparations. This is how you've been injured. This is how you've been destroyed. You was changed from an African into a Negro. That you've been damaged, injured you, took your name, took your color. I don't have my pretty black color no more. No, I want an afro. I can't even wear one. The man done messed it up.
And what baffles me is so many white folks in America keep wondering about, what's wrong with them? Niggas must be crazy. No, baby, understand one thing. Niggas got more sense today than ever before in the history of America. And when niggas was basically crazy, that's when he thought we had good sense. Yeah, that's right. When he running around goosing me in the rump, rubbing my head for luck. Come here, Jabbo. Yeah, that's the boss. When I was basically crazy, now we talking about getting our thing together and getting our sanity together, baby. Once you get your mind together, baby, can't nobody deal with you. And that's what this convention is all about, getting our minds together. And when we leave here, it's going to be a different day.
The last day of the convention was Sunday. We were slated to wrap up at noon, and the purpose of that last day was the adoption of the resolutions that had been agreed to by the body.
Let's get back and deal with this situation. Now, please, will you delegates return to your seats?
Delegates pushed to adopt the National Black Agenda, but some Michigan delegates felt the document was too separatist in tone and might hurt black alliances, especially with organized labor. The delegation threatened to walk.
We're going to vote. Only one more unreadiness which we're going to allow, and that is to hear what Michigan has to say, because we're going to call this vote.
Mr. Chairman, now with my understanding, and I believe that the six-man committee will confirm it, that the agreement before you rules out a walkout by us or any minority port. We too are trying to preserve black unity.
You must remember that 65% or better of that delegate body from Michigan were from labor, auto workers, steel workers, municipal workers, and so forth. And you had some of the most renowned labor personalities folded into that delegation, who were international figures.
Michigan asked for more time, but the request was denied. As pressure mounted to approve the agenda, members of the Michigan delegation began to walk. At the 11th hour, the fragile coalition at Gary seemed on the verge of falling apart.
Michigan, Michigan.
We felt like once Michigan delegation walked out, others were going to walk out. And we was, we were really afraid, Everybody was just like standing there dumbfounded for a while, you know, really realizing what's going to happen next.
But the coalition held. Not all the Michigan delegates had walked.
That Michigan has not walked out. Only part of Michigan has walked out.
I also want to point out that we want to proceed with the adoption of that agenda because the time is long past when a state or a interest can intimidate the whole black nation.
It's nation time. It's nation time. It's nation time. Let the black nation rise. I mean, you could hear reverberating all those pride struggles from the 40s and the 30s and the 50s and the 60s. I mean, came to be fulfilled in that moment of crying that it's nation time. Now, not next year, not next century, but now, in 1972 at Gary, Indiana.
People went back home, rolled up their sleeves, and ran for public office in a way that blacks had never thought about running for public office before.
The National Black Agenda was published on the birthday of Malcolm X. It articulated a new spirit of independent black politics. Within 10 years, the number of black elected officials in the United States jumped from 2,264 to more than 5,000.